The forbidden arrival. In the vast expanse of the Orion Arm, the stellar Concord had enforced order for 20,000 years. Their laws were absolute, their technology standardized, their methods unquestioned. But on this unremarkable day at the edge of the Nexus system, everything was about to change. High Commander Uralthex of the Concord Enforcement Fleet stretched his crystalline form, each facet reflecting the cold light of distant stars. For 3 millennia, he had upheld the sacred technology protocols, the very foundation of galactic stability. No species was permitted to develop beyond predetermined thresholds. No civilization could threaten the careful balance. Commander, his tactical officer's melodic voice chimed through the bridge. We're detecting an anomaly in Sector 739. Uralthex turned his attention to the holographic display. What he saw made his crystalline structure vibrate with confusion. The readings were impossible. Run diagnostics, he ordered, his harmonics betraying his unease. Our sensors must be malfunctioning. All systems operating at optimal efficiency, sir, came the response. The object is real, but it's not conforming to any known physical parameters. The mysterious vessel approached at a speed that should have torn apart any conventional ship. It appeared to phase in and out of reality, its signature flickering like a dying star, yet somehow maintaining perfect structural integrity. Impossible, Uralthex murmured. No vessel can achieve translocation without generating detectable tachyon emissions, and that speed. It violates the momentum conservation laws. Commander, we're being hailed. The view screen flickered to life, revealing a being Uralthex recognized from the archives. A human. The species had been denied Concord membership just 5 cycles ago for their chaotic potential and unpredictable development patterns. This is Captain Zora Nakamura of the Earth Vessel Pioneer, the human female announced, her voice carrying a confidence that bordered on defiance. We come in peace, but we will not be turned away. Uralthex felt his structure resonate with indignation. Captain Nakamura, your vessel is in direct violation of 47 technology protocols. You will power down immediately and prepare for inspection. The human's lips curved into what Uralthex had learned was called a smile. With respect, Commander, humanity never agreed to your protocols. We've developed our own path. Every spacefaring species must adhere to the technology protocols, Uralthex insisted. They exist to prevent catastrophic development that could threaten galactic stability, or to prevent progress that could threaten your control, Nakamura countered. Tell me, Commander, what does your database say about negative mass propulsion? It's theoretical at best, impossible at worst, Uralthex replied automatically. The energy requirements alone would require thinking beyond your limitations, Nakamura interrupted. Your Concord banned research into quantum consciousness interfaces because they were unpredictable. We embraced that unpredictability. The Pioneer suddenly shifted, its form seeming to stretch across multiple dimensions before snapping back to a single point in space. Alarms blared across the Concord Bridge as their sensors struggled to comprehend what they were witnessing. Sir, the tactical officer's harmonics reached a near-panic frequency. The human vessel just demonstrated controlled quantum tunneling on a macro scale. It moved 3,000 kilometers instantaneously without traversing the intervening space. Uralthex felt something he hadn't experienced in centuries. Genuine fear. Not of destruction, but of obsolescence. Your technology protocols, Nakamura continued, are chains disguised as safety measures. While you've spent millennia perfecting the same tired designs, we've been asking different questions. What if a ship could exist in multiple states simultaneously? What if consciousness itself could be the control interface? What if the laws of physics are just suggestions waiting to be rewritten? The Pioneer began to glow with an ethereal light, its hull seeming to ripple like liquid metal. To the Concord sensors, it appeared to be simultaneously solid and energy, matter and antimatter, existing in a state of controlled paradox. This is just one ship, Commander, Nakamura said softly. We call them void skimmers. They don't travel through space. They skip across it like stones on a pond. Your protocols would have called this impossible. We call it Tuesday. Uralthex's command staff looked to him for orders, their harmonic frequencies betraying their uncertainty. For the first time in recorded history, a Concorde fleet faced technology that didn't just exceed their own. It rendered their entire understanding of physics obsolete. "What do you want?" Uralthex finally asked, his resonance subdued. "To show you that there's another way," Nakamura replied. "Your Concorde has maintained peace through suppression. We offer growth through innovation. The question is, are you ready to evolve?" As the Pioneer hung impossibly in space, defying every law the Concorde held sacred, Uralthex realized he was witnessing not just a new technology, but the dawn of a new era. The humans hadn't just broken the rules, they'd rewritten the game entirely. And somewhere deep in his crystalline consciousness, beneath millennia of conditioning and protocol, Uralthex felt something unprecedented: excitement. The technology heretics. The bridge of the Concorde flagship, Eternal Vigilance, hummed with tension as Captain Nakamura's words echoed through the chamber. High Commander Uralthex found himself studying the human vessel with newfound fascination, each crystalline facet of his being analyzing the impossible readings before him. "Captain Nakamura," he began, his harmonic tones carefully modulated, "perhaps you would enlighten us. How does your vessel achieve what our greatest minds deemed impossible?" The human's expression shifted to one of genuine enthusiasm. "It's all about perspective, Commander. Your Concorde approaches physics as a set of immutable laws. We see it as a conversation with the universe." The Pioneer executed another impossible maneuver, seeming to fold space around itself like origami. Uralthex's science officer, Killen, nearly collapsed from the sensory overload. "Our void skimmers operate on principles your protocols explicitly forbade," Nakamura explained. "Negative mass propulsion, for instance. Your scientists calculated it would require infinite energy. Ours discovered that infinity is just a state of mind." "Elaborate," Uralthex commanded, his curiosity overriding protocol. "Traditional propulsion pushes against spacetime," Nakamura said, gesturing animatedly. "But what if, instead of pushing, we created a bubble of negative mass? Spacetime would literally fall away from us, pulling us forward without expending energy in the conventional sense." Kellen's tendrils quivered with agitation. "But the exotic matter requirements alone don't exist," Nakamura interrupted with a grin. "Not when you realize that matter and energy are just different expressions of information. We don't create exotic matter. We convince regular matter to behave exotically." The Pioneer demonstrated this principle by seemingly dissolving into a cloud of luminous particles before reforming several kilometers away. The Concorde's targeting systems couldn't even begin to track the transition. "And your neural interface," Uralthex pressed. "Our research indicated that direct consciousness to ship connections would drive operators insane within cycles." "Ah, that's where you fundamentally misunderstood consciousness," Nakamura replied. "You tried to force minds into machines. We taught machines to dream." She tapped her temple, and suddenly the Pioneer's hull displayed swirling patterns that seemed to respond to her thoughts. "Our ships don't have AI in the traditional sense. They have artificial imagination. The boundary between pilot and vessel becomes philosophical." Lieutenant Commander Vrex, head of Concorde Security, stepped forward. "This is precisely why humans were denied membership. Such technology is inherently unstable, unpredictable." "Alive," Nakamura corrected. "Our ships aren't tools. They're partners. When was the last time your vessels surprised you, Commander? When did they last show initiative or creativity?" As if to emphasize her point, the Pioneer suddenly projected a holographic star map that encompassed the entire bridge. Uralthex watched in amazement as human colonies appeared throughout regions the Concorde had deemed uninhabitable. "Binary star systems," Nakamura narrated, "where we dance between gravitational fields. Nebulae where we harvest exotic particles. black hole event horizons where we've learned to surf the edge of infinity. Your protocols said these regions were death zones. We call them opportunities. Uralthex felt his crystalline structure resonate with a mixture of awe and concern. You've colonized the impossible. We've embraced the improbable, Nakamura corrected. While your Concord maintained the status quo, we asked, what if? What if consciousness could be quantum entangled? What if time isn't linear but optional? What if the laws of physics are more like strongly worded suggestions? The Pioneer began to shift through a spectrum of impossible colors, each hue representing a different quantum state. To the Concord sensors, the ship appeared to exist in multiple realities simultaneously. Your greatest fear, Nakamura continued, her voice softening, wasn't that our technology would fail. It was that it would succeed. Because if humans could break your unbreakable laws, what does that say about the foundation of your entire civilization? Kellen's scientific curiosity finally overcame his training. Captain, the energy signatures we're detecting. They suggest your vessel is somehow tapping into zero-point fluctuations, but the cascade failures alone should tear us apart. Nakamura finished. They would if we fought against them. Instead, we surf the chaos. Every quantum fluctuation becomes a wave to ride rather than a storm to weather. The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. The Concorde had spent millennia building walls around knowledge, creating barriers to protect civilization from itself. Humans had spent that time learning to dance on the edge of those walls. You speak of evolution, Uralthex said finally. But evolution without control leads to chaos. And control without evolution leads to stagnation, Nakamura countered. Look at your own history, Commander. 20,000 years of peace, yes, but at what cost? How many discoveries have you suppressed? How many dreams have you denied? The Pioneer suddenly split into 7 identical vessels, each performing different impossible maneuvers before merging back into one. The demonstration left the Concorde officers speechless. This is just the beginning, Nakamura said. We've developed temporal displacement fields that let us step outside of time. Consciousness transfer protocols that allow us to back up our very souls. Dimensional bridges that make distance irrelevant. All technologies or protocols deemed too dangerous to pursue. Uralthex felt something shift within his ancient consciousness. The weight of 20,000 years of doctrine pressed against the undeniable evidence before him. The humans hadn't just developed new technology. They'd evolved past the need for the Concorde's protection. And now, he asked, his harmonics betraying uncertainty, what are your intentions? Nakamura's smile held no malice, only possibility. Now, Commander, we offer you a choice. Continue enforcing limitations, or join us in exploring infinity. The universe is far stranger and more wonderful than your protocols allow. We're inviting you to discover just how strange and wonderful it can be. As the Pioneer continued its impossible dance through space, Uralthex realized that this moment would be remembered as either the end of the Concorde's dominion or the beginning of something far greater. The humans hadn't come to conquer. They'd come to liberate. And perhaps, just perhaps, it was time for the galaxy to be free. The demonstration. High Commander Uralthex stood motionless as Captain Nakamura's words hung in the air. Around him, his bridge crew struggled to process the implications of what they were witnessing. The Pioneer continued its ethereal dance through space, each movement defying another fundamental law of physics. Perhaps, Nakamura said, her voice carrying a hint of mischief, a proper demonstration would help you understand. Would you permit me to show you what human innovation truly means? Uralthex hesitated. Protocol demanded he refuse. Order the human vessel's immediate surrender. Yet curiosity, that long-suppressed trait the Concorde deemed dangerous, stirred within his crystalline core. Proceed, he heard himself say, earning shocked harmonics from his crew. Nakamura's eyes sparkled. Pioneer, initiate possibility matrix alpha. The human vessel began to shimmer, its hull seeming to unfold into impossible geometries. Space itself appeared to warp around it, creating ripples that the Concorde's sensors registered as localized reality distortions. First, Nakamura explained, "Let's discuss movement. Your ships push through space like swimmers through water. Ours convince space that we're already where we want to be." The Pioneer vanished, reappearing instantaneously on the opposite side of the Concorde formation. No acceleration, no transition, simply existing in one location, then another. Quantum teleportation on a macro scale, Kellen gasped, his scientific training warring with the evidence before him. The energy requirements, the precision needed, are irrelevant when you approach the problem correctly, Nakamura finished. Now, observe temporal displacement. The Pioneer seemed to blur, creating afterimages that moved independently of the main vessel. To the Concorde's horror, these echoes began performing different actions. One engaged in evasive maneuvers, another fired harmless light patterns, a third broadcast scientific data. "We're witnessing the ship in multiple timeframes simultaneously," Nakamura explained casually. "Your protocols ban temporal manipulation because you fear paradoxes. We learned that paradoxes are just puzzles waiting to be solved." Lieutenant Commander Vrex raised his weapon, panic evident in his form. "Commander, they could attack us from the past. They could prevent us from ever existing." "Lower your weapon," Uralthex ordered, surprising himself. "If they intended harm, we would already be destroyed." Nakamura nodded appreciatively. "Exactly. Power without wisdom is meaningless. That's the lesson the Concorde never learned. You accumulated technology but feared understanding." The Pioneer's temporal echoes merged back into a single vessel, which then began to shift through dimensions visible only to the most sensitive instruments. "Your ships exist in 3 dimensions plus time," Nakamura continued. "Ours operate in 11, borrowing mass and energy from parallel realities. Watch." The human vessel seemed to grow larger without actually expanding, its mass increasing exponentially according to the Concorde's readings. Then, impossibly, it began to generate its own gravitational field, strong enough to bend light around it. "We can become as massive as a star or as light as a photon," Nakamura said. "Size, mass, energy. These are variables, not constants. Your protocols treat them as immutable laws. We treat them as negotiation points with reality." Uralthex felt his worldview crumbling. "But the risks, the potential for catastrophic failure, are part of growth," Nakamura replied gently. "Yes, we've had accidents. Yes, we've lost ships and crews. But each failure taught us something new. Your Concorde prioritizes safety over discovery. We believe the greatest risk is never taking one." The Pioneer suddenly split into fractal patterns, each smaller version a complete copy of the whole. They swarmed through space like a school of fish, demonstrating coordinated movements that defied conventional physics. "Consciousness multiplication," Nakamura explained. "One mind, many bodies. Or many minds, one purpose. The distinction becomes meaningless at quantum scales." Killen's scientific excitement overcame his fear. "Captain, are you suggesting distributed consciousness across multiple physical platforms? The computational requirements alone don't exist when consciousness itself becomes the computer," Nakamura interrupted. "Your protocols assume consciousness requires a physical substrate. We discovered it's more fundamental than matter itself." The demonstration reached its climax as the Pioneer reassembled and projected a field that seemed to calm the very fabric of space-time around it. Stars appeared brighter, sensor readings became clearer, and even the Concorde crew felt a strange sense of peace. "Harmony field," Nakamura said softly. "We can tune reality itself, smoothing quantum fluctuations, reducing entropy locally. Your weapons create destruction. Ours create order from chaos." Uralthex studied the readings in amazement. The field wasn't just manipulating energy, it was rewriting the fundamental constants of physics within its radius. "This is what you fear most, isn't it?" Nakamura asked. "Not our weapons, but our creativity. Not our power, but our potential. We don't just break your rules, we make them irrelevant. The demonstration ended with the Pioneer returning to its original form, hanging serenely in space as if it hadn't just shattered every concept the Concorde held sacred. 20,000 years ago, Nakamura said, "Your founders created the technology protocols to prevent catastrophe. They succeeded in preventing disaster, but also prevented wonder. They eliminated risk, but also eliminated discovery. They created peace, but at the cost of progress." Uralfex felt the weight of those millennia pressing against the possibilities he just witnessed. His crew looked to him, seeking guidance in this moment that would define their civilization's future. "Your species was denied membership because we feared this," he admitted, his harmonics heavy with realization. "Not your violence or chaos, but your refusal to accept limitations. Limitations are starting points, not endpoints." Nakamura replied, "Every impossible is just a not yet. Every law of physics is a conversation waiting to happen. Every rule is a challenge to find a better way." The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. The Concorde hadn't been protecting the galaxy from dangerous technology. They'd been protecting their own authority from obsolescence. "What happens now?" Uralfex asked, already knowing the answer would change everything. "Now," Nakamura smiled, "you choose. Continue enforcing limitations, or help us explore possibilities. The galaxy is vast, Commander, and we've barely scratched the surface of what's possible. Join us, and let's discover what lies beyond the impossible." As the Pioneer waited patiently, its very existence a testament to human audacity, Uralfex realized that this moment would echo through history. The choice wasn't between order and chaos, but between stagnation and growth. The future, terrifying and wonderful, awaited his decision.